Manchester United, delusional. Next year is our year. Sound familiar? Liverpool fans said it for 30 years. Now United fans have taken over. New manager, new signings, new optimism. Same owners. November hits, they're mid-table, and suddenly it's about the process, the infrastructure, the long-term vision. They've had more long-term visions than trophies since Ferguson retired. 7 managers in 12 years. They've just sacked Ruben Amorim after 14 months. The man came in, told them they might be the worst team in United history, then lost to Grimsby in the League Cup. Not League One Grimsby, League Two Grimsby, 56 places below them. You've probably seen the image. Amorim on the sidelines at Blundell Park, studying his tactics board in the rain while losing to a 4th-tier team. It became an instant meme. Fans replaced the board with Pokemon cards, DJ decks, a sticker album. They couldn't help themselves. Then he called out loanees, who were winning Player of the Month at their loan clubs. The fan base turned. Now they're debating whether to bring back Erik ten Hag, unironically. You know how United fans cope? They check the attendance figures, the social media followers. They'll tell you they're still the biggest club in the world, and statistically, they might be right. But relevance isn't measured in Instagram followers. It's measured in title challenges, and they haven't had a genuine one in years. Liverpool waited 30 years and eventually got there. United are 12 years in and counting. Liverpool, insufferable. Liverpool fans have convinced themselves that supporting one of the richest clubs in world football is an act of working-class resistance. They talk about the soul of the game, while their American owners optimize commercial revenue. They lecture other fan bases about history, while plastering cryptocurrency sponsors across Anfield. 20 titles now, level with United, and they will never let you forget it. You know how fast they moved? Within seconds of the final whistle last season, the memes were ready, graphics designed, PowerPoint presentations about historical accuracy prepared. They'd been waiting 30 years, and they'd pre-written the celebration posts. The Klopp era turned them into evangelists. Every conversation became a TED Talk about pressing triggers and gegenpressing. They didn't just support a team, they joined a movement. That energy has now transferred to Arne Slot, who delivered another title in his first season. Here's the annoying part. They often have a point. Istanbul, the Anfield atmosphere on European nights. These things matter, but somewhere along the way, the legitimate pride curdled into something exhausting. You know the type. The people who tell you they don't own a television, unprompted, proudly, waiting for you to be impressed. Liverpool fans are like that, except about football. They might be right about everything, and that makes it even worse. Newcastle, intoxicated. Newcastle fans have been drunk on Saudi money dreams since 2021. Every transfer window they expect Mbappe. Every season they expect a title challenge. They've spent hundreds of millions, finished 5th twice, and act like this is underachievement. St James's Park holds 52,000 people who believe they're massive. They say it constantly, on social media, in arguments, in comments. We're massive. It's the calling card. The optimism is understandable. For decades they were stuck with Mike Ashley, Sports Direct banners everywhere, relegation, mediocrity. Then overnight, they went from a man who seemed to actively hate football to the sovereign wealth fund of a nation-state. That kind of whiplash breaks your sense of proportion. They're acting like a kid who just discovered his dad is secretly a billionaire, buying expensive things just because they can. Champions League football arrived. The project is moving, but expectation has outpaced reality by about 5 years. They're currently pushing for European places. Under Ashley, that would have felt like paradise. Now it feels like disappointment. They've forgotten what reasonable expectation looks like.
Arsenal, haunted.
20 years of psychological damage, and it shows in everything they do. Watch the match threads. Watch Twitter when they concede. The meltdowns are immediate. Every goal against, the comments section turns into a support group. Every defensive error triggers flashback sequences. They remember collapses. They remember Newcastle. They remember the decades of finishing 4th becoming a punchline. AFTV made them famous for all the wrong reasons. DT marching out of rooms. Troops screaming into cameras. The banter era broke something fundamental. Watching Leicester win a title before them felt like a nightmare they still haven't woken up from. Watching their best players leave for Barcelona and City year after year. It created a fan base that cannot relax. Halfway through the 2025-2026 season, they sit top of the table. Victor Gyökeres finally arrived. They look threatening, and still, the anxiety persists. They won't believe it until they lift the trophy, or maybe they will, and that is usually the problem. Arteta has built something impressive. The tactical structure, the squad depth, the mentality. But 20 years of hurt doesn't heal overnight. For Arsenal fans, success just feels like setting up for a bigger collapse. Chelsea, chaotic. More turbulence in 3 years than most clubs see in 3 decades. They've signed approximately 47,000 players since 2022. Nobody knows who's in the squad anymore, including the manager. Which manager? Good question. They had Pochettino, they had Maresca. Now they've got Liam Rosignol, appointed 5 days into January after Maresca reportedly fell out with the board. Maresca won the Conference League, got sacked anyway. The pattern is clear. They hire managers, then prevent them from actually managing. The sporting directors, all 5 of them, have opinions. The ownership has opinions. None align for more than 3 months. The fans have adapted by embracing the chaos. Transfer window? Lottery. Managerial appointment? Coin flip. The strangest part is that the talent is there. Caicedo is exceptional. Palmer got the vision and flair. Quality scattered everywhere. But quality without direction is just expensive confusion. Their club has become a content generator. Drama production outpacing actual football. Everton, cursed. Everton fans have endured suffering that borders on supernatural. Point deductions, ownership crises, the constant threat of relegation that only materializes slowly enough to maximize pain. They're the only fan base who can genuinely complain about their owners, football governing bodies, the league, and the fundamental structure of the universe, and be justified in all of it. This season, something shifted. They moved into the Hill Dickinson Stadium, left Goodison Park after 133 years, and they're sitting in mid-table. For Everton, that counts as a miracle. Pickford keeps making saves. The defense has organized itself. They might actually stay up comfortably. The fans don't trust it. They can't. Every time things stabilize, something collapses. That's not pessimism at this point, it's data analysis. The new stadium was supposed to lift the curse, but the question lingers. The evidence suggests the universe has a personal vendetta against this club, and concrete and steel might not be enough to change that. Manchester City, flat. 8 titles in 12 years. A treble, the most dominant era in English football history. And nobody outside Manchester seems to care. Even City's own fans have become apathetic as they struggle to fill the stadium. The conversation always circles back to the charges. The financial investigations, the asterisks other fan bases want on every trophy. Guardiola built something unprecedented, but the emotional resonance hasn't matched the statistical dominance. When Liverpool won the league in 2020, the whole country felt it. When City win, it's expected. Clinical. The fans know this. They feel the dismissiveness. It's created a siege mentality where any criticism becomes evidence of bias. Any question about the 100+ charges becomes an attack on legitimacy. Their own supporters organized a 9-minute boycott earlier this season, protesting ticket prices, complaining about atmosphere. The Etihad gets called Emptyhad so often it's become a meme. City fans defend against images of empty seats by pointing out timing and camera angles, spending more energy fighting perception than celebrating success. They're near the top of the table, chasing Arsenal. Haaland has 20 goals, still trying to prove last year's collapse was just a blip.
West Ham, lost. Nearly 8,000 fans responded to a supporter survey recently. 71% rated the London Stadium atmosphere as poor or very poor. 95% said it was worse than the Berlin ground. That's not a survey, that's a funeral report. They left Upton Park, one of the great atmospheric stadiums in English football, for a converted athletics venue that still feels designed for literally anything except football. One fan summed it up. The place is utterly soulless. Our identity was left at the Berlin. 85% blame the distance from the pitch. 72% cite too many tourists. 72% have considered not renewing their season tickets because of the atmosphere alone. They're deep in the relegation zone. They've had Potter, then Nuno, still sinking. Sullivan promised a project. The fans got broken promises and a 99-year lease on a stadium most of them can't stand. The club keeps telling them to expect more while delivering less. Tottenham, numb. Spurs fans have been hurt so many times that hope itself feels like a trap. They've watched their club bottle Leeds, bottle title races, bottle cup finals, bottle Champions League campaigns with a consistency that would be impressive if it weren't devastating. The stadium is beautiful. The training ground is world-class. The revenue streams are optimized. None of it translated to trophies. Until last season, they won the Europa League. First trophy in 17 years. Beat United in Bilbao. Brennan Johnson scored. The Spursy jokes were supposed to end. James Maddison posted mocking everyone who'd used the term. The celebration happened. And then this season, Thomas Frank came in from Brentford and somehow made Spurs boring. Fans chanted, "Boring, boring Tottenham" at the G-Tech, booed at half-time, booed at full-time, demanded their money back. The Europa League trophy sits in the cabinet and nothing has changed. Promise, progress, stagnation. The cycle continues. Feeling things requires belief that things could improve. 17 years between trophies tends to kill that belief. Aston Villa, reborn. From near relegation to League One to genuine title contenders. This is happening. 10 years ago, Villa were a dead club. Randy Lerner, financial chaos, identity collapse. Now they're in the mix at the top. Emery has built something special. After a terrible August, 0 wins, 1 goal, they've won 11 straight. Fans were singing, "We're going to win the league," after the Chelsea comeback. Not ironically, actually believing it. Here's the thing, Villa fans don't entirely trust it. They remember what this club was. The relegation, the championship years, the false dawns. The underlying numbers say they're overperforming. The XG puts them mid-table. They're scoring spectacular long-range goals that shouldn't go in. Rodgers from 30 yards. Cash from distance. Beautiful, but statistically unsustainable. Emery insists they train these shots. Everyone's skeptical, but the results keep coming, so something is definitely working. Watkins is scoring. The defensive structure is solid. Villa have risen from the dead. Fully believing in the ultimate resurrection takes time. Your club is coming. Promoted clubs, forgotten clubs, and the rivalry that defines everything still to come. Brighton, resigned. They've accepted their club is a development academy with unusually good Wi-Fi. Every season they produce brilliant players. Every summer those players leave. It's not even disappointing anymore. It's the business model. Somehow they keep finding replacements. The recruitment is extraordinary. But the fans have stopped getting attached. They've learned that loving a Brighton player is temporary. The moment someone starts performing, the clock starts ticking. It's created a strange zen. They appreciate the football, enjoy the possession game, celebrate the wins, expect nothing permanent. Nothing at Brighton is permanent except the process itself. Respectable, sustainable, completely expected. Hope is just pre-disappointment. They've optimized the emotional cycle accordingly.
Wolves, forgotten. They had a moment. The Nuno era. The Portuguese connection, the Europa League runs, hipster's choice, neutral's favourite, the club that proved you could build something special without unlimited resources. Then Nuno left, the players left, the magic evaporated, rock bottom of the table. Relegation isn't a threat, it's a certainty unless something dramatic happens. The Portuguese pipeline dried up. Managerial instability became chronic. The fans who packed Molineux for European nights are watching slow, grinding decline. There's not even the intensity that usually accompanies a relegation battle, just resignation. The worst part is how quickly everyone forgot. 2 years ago, Wolves were interesting. Now they're just another struggling Midlands club. The football world moved on and left them behind. Crystal Palace, stubborn. Palace fans refuse to change, refuse to modernise, refuse to accept that South London might need to adapt to survive in modern football. And somehow it works. Selhurst Park is still a fortress.
the atmosphere is still genuine. The club still feels like it belongs to the community rather than investors or algorithms. They won the FA Cup last season, first major trophy in decades. The celebration was everything modern football usually lacks. Authentic joy, real connection, not a corporate event, not a global brand moment. Just South London winning something and losing their minds about it. Mateta keeps scoring, Henderson keeps saving. Glasner has built a team that reflects the fans. They don't play like a club sitting in mid-table. They play like a club that refuses to accept its station. Stubbornness is their competitive advantage in a league that's forgotten what football used to feel like. Nottingham Forest, defiant. 2 European Cups, and they will remind you of this fact at every opportunity. Doesn't matter that those trophies came in 1979 and 1980. Doesn't matter that most current supporters weren't alive to see them. The history is the identity. Clough's ghost haunts the City ground in the best possible way. But the present has become chaos. Finished 7th last season. Competitive. Then this season started and they've sacked 3 managers already. Nuno gone in September. Postecoglou appointed, then sacked by October. Managed 39 days. Sean Dyche brought in to stabilise. Currently fighting relegation. European dreams turned relegation fight in half a season. The chaos at the top has trickled to the pitch, yet the fans remain defiant. They won't accept this club belongs in the bottom half. Won't accept the glory days are ancient history. Every match at the City ground still carries the weight of those European nights, even when the reality is losing to a promoted side. Accepting mediocrity would betray everything Clough built. Fulham, content. Fulham fans have found peace. In modern football, that's almost revolutionary. They're not dreaming of titles, not demanding Champions League. They're watching entertaining football at a beautiful riverside stadium, and that's enough. Silva has built a side that plays solid and good enough. Jimenez keeps scoring. Wilson keeps creating. Mid-table, exactly where a well-run club of their resources should be. No drama, no crisis. Just competent football and reasonable expectations. Craven Cottage is one of the best experiences in the league. Intimate ground, proper atmosphere, neutrals paradise on the Thames. 3 consecutive Premier League seasons now. Stability has arrived. They've realised contentment is underrated. The pursuit of something more usually ends in disappointment.
Bournemouth, invisible. They exist in a strange pocket of English football, where nobody thinks about them until they're directly in front of you. Sitting in the bottom half. The football is sometimes great, the results are acceptable, and absolutely nobody outside the South Coast cares. Not bad enough to generate sympathy, not good enough to generate excitement. They just exist, somewhere in the middle of the table, doing things that technically count as professional football. The fan base is small but genuine. They remember League Two. They remember being a bus stop in Dorset. The Premier League still feels like a miracle to them, even if no one else notices. They've kept the miracle going for nearly a decade, quietly, without drama. Visibility requires either success or catastrophe. They've managed to avoid both. Brentford, smug. Brentford fans love being the analytics darlings. They love explaining that their recruitment model is superior. They love watching bigger clubs pay 5 times more for players half as good. And honestly, they've earned it. Pushing for the top 6. Igor Thiago has 16 goals. They've done this without a billionaire, without a massive stadium, without the historical advantages that supposedly determine success. Thomas Frank left for Spurs. They're still better than Spurs. That's the level of smugness we're dealing with. The XG accounts worship them. The underlying numbers always look good. The fan base has internalized this validation to the point where they believe they've figured something out that others haven't. They might be right. That's what makes it annoying. When they lose, other fans feel satisfaction. When they win, they're insufferable about the process. They won't shut up about marginal gains, expected goals, recruitment efficiency. The data says they should be smug, and they will not stop reminding you. Sunderland, relieved. Back from the wilderness, 8 years away from the Premier League, 2 seasons in League One. Netflix documentaries about their suffering, Sunderland Till I Die,
made their misery into global entertainment. They became a punchline, a cautionary tale. The documentary showed Jack Rodwell earning millions while contributing nothing, Martin Bain making speeches that sounded like parody, owners who seemed lost, managers who couldn't cope. The whole world watched them fail in high definition. After a glowing start, they now find themselves mid-table, competing respectably. Luckily, the nightmare is over, and that's the most important thing. The Stadium of Light means something again. The Tyne Wear Derby is back. They get to play Newcastle. That alone was worth the wait. They're not going to win anything this season. Nobody expects them to. But simply being here, competing at this level, feels like victory after everything they've endured. They've remembered what Premier League football feels like. They're not taking it for granted. Leeds, bitter. Leeds fans have a list of grievances longer than their injury reports, and they'll share it whether you asked or not. They hate the Football League. They hate the referees. They hate the media. They hate their former players who left. They especially hate Manchester United. The bitterness is foundational. It's what makes them Leeds. The club's history is a series of perceived injustices and legitimate brilliance, and the fans can't separate the two. Dominant, then financially collapsed, then stuck in the Championship for 16 years. Bielsa brought them back, and it was beautiful. Then it fell apart, and they went right back down. Now they're up again. Survival is the only objective. Elland Road is still one of the most intimidating grounds in England because the hostility never fades. The bitterness is the point. It fuels them. They wouldn't know what to do without an enemy.
Burnley, resilient. Burnley fans have been through this before. Promoted, relegated, promoted again. The yo-yo life. They accept it with grim northern pragmatism that outsiders find either admirable or depressing. Relegation looks likely. They're deep in the drop zone. The fans are already preparing for next season in the Championship. No panic, no delusion, just acceptance. The club doesn't have resources to compete at this level sustainably. Everyone knows it. Dyche made it work for years through stubbornness, grit, and long balls. Now Dyche is at Forest trying to save them, and Burnley are doing what Burnley usually do when the magic isn't there, losing. But they'll sell some players, bring in youth, rebuild sensibly, come back up again. That's the Burnley way. Never going to be a big club, never going to sign superstars, just going to keep existing, keep fighting, keep making the Premier League slightly more physical than it wants to be. Resilience is the only option when your ceiling is survival. Arsenal and Tottenham. The North London condition. And finally, we need to talk about Arsenal and Tottenham together, because you can't understand one without the other. Arsenal fans check Tottenham's results before their own. Every Spurs collapse feels like a personal gift. When Spurs fans chanted, "Boring, boring Tottenham" at Thomas Frank, Arsenal fans celebrated like they'd won a trophy themselves. The 20 years without a league title were tolerable, partly because Spurs have gone longer. The measurement isn't absolute. It's relative to what's happening 4 miles down the road. Tottenham fans claim they don't care about Arsenal. They're lying. Every Arsenal failure gets celebrated with intensity that reveals deep investment. St. Totteringham's Day, the made-up holiday where Arsenal fans celebrate ending above Spurs on the table, still stings for Tottenham. They need each other. Without Spurs to mock, Arsenal would have to confront their own neuroses directly. Without Arsenal to resent, Spurs would have to accept their problems are internal. The rivalry is a convenient distraction from uncomfortable self-examination. This season, Arsenal are top of the table. Tottenham are in the bottom half. The gap is enormous. The intensity of the rivalry is unchanged, because it was never about the table. It was about something deeper, something tribal, something the statistics can't capture. Arsenal fans are haunted and terrified. Tottenham fans are numb. Both groups will continue caring way too much about the other. North London football is a shared condition that neither fan base wants to cure. That's every Premier League fan base explained. If I got your club right, you're legally obligated to subscribe. If I got it wrong, that's what the comment section is for. See you in the next one.